Hello, I'm Valerie Estelle Frankel. To kick off Rosh Hashana, I thought I would share a few stories from the land of Chelm that are particularly suited to this holiday. These are all from Yiddish folktales by Beatrice Silverman Weinrach. All right, so the land of Chelm was a very silly place. There are several reasons why this might be so. Some people say that an angel was busy carrying a jar that contained all the foolishness in all the world, and he was supposed to distribute it all throughout the world. However, as he was flying over Chelm, this tiny village in Poland, the jar slipped a bit, and all the silliness fell into Chelm and concentrated there. Another story says that Chelm was a perfectly normal village until a particular Torah reader showed up one day. Now, for the new year, he was going to read the very first line of the Torah. And that goes, Bereshit bara Elohim et hasmanim. In the beginning, God created the heavens. However, this person's Hebrew wasn't entirely perfect, and he slipped up a little. Instead, he read, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashoitim. In the beginning, God created fools. And since then, Chelm has been a town of fools. Either way, this is the story of how the people of Chelm got their shofar. One day, a stranger arrived in Chelm. And this was Poland, and it had just rained, and it was very muddy and slobby about. He stepped in a big sinkhole of mud, and what do you know? Slurp! It pulled his boot right off, and he tugged, but he couldn't get it out. So he gave up, and he limped away with just the one boot on. Now, one of the villagers of Chelm came across this boot. People of Chelm wore smaller shoes, if they wore shoes at all, and he didn't recognize it. So what do you do if you don't recognize something in a small Jewish town? You call the rabbi and ask for advice. So he and his friends hauled the boot out of the mud and took it to the rabbi. Rabbi, what is this? And the rabbi investigated it, examined it, wiped the mud off, and said, I know. You see how it's really big and open at one side? And you see how it's really long throughout the whole thing? Clearly, according to everything I've read, this must be a shofar. And what should we do with the shofar? The people asked. Said the rabbi. We take the shofar, and we put it in the ark, and then we blow it on Rosh Hashana, the new year. So they did. Now, as it happened, that afternoon, the stranger, limping still with one boot on one foot and the other foot bare, came to synagogue and joined them in their prayers. And when they opened the ark to take out the Torah, what do you know? He saw his boot standing there, all cleaned up. That's my boot, he cried. Let me have it back. See, I've only got one boot on. My other foot is bare. You can't have it, said the Chelmites. It's a shofar, and we need a shofar. Rosh Hashana is coming, and we're going to need an instrument to blow to welcome in the new year. But I need my boot, he protests. It's just an ordinary boot. It came off in the mud. It isn't a shofar at all. So they took the quarrel to the rabbi, because that's what the rabbi's for, of course. And the rabbi listened, and he said, according to everything I read, what we have right there is a shofar. All the evidence has backed me up, so I cannot change my mind. However, if this man was mistakenly wearing this shofar on his foot, and it belongs to him, then we should compensate him. So they gave the man some money to go buy himself a new boot that hopefully would not be a shofar. Meanwhile, the town of Chelm kept the boot in the ark, and they blew it that year to welcome in the new year. It didn't make much noise, but they tried, and from there on, every year thereafter, they continued to blow their own particular shofar.